Hey guys, Eric here, FLHP Performance. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In front of me is a 2017 C7 Z06 that's owned by our customer Carlo. Carlo brought the car in, already had some work done to it, and we took it to the next level. A bunch of internal engine work is done to this car, some modifications to the supercharger, a ton of aesthetic upgrades, including some custom wheels from Brixton Forged. And man, when you see the power that we picked up with the what I would consider minimal upgrades and some fuel upgrades, you're gonna be very, very surprised. So if you're into C7 Z06s, if you own one or you're working on one, you're gonna wanna pay attention to this video. We go through a bunch of technical information and data you may find useful in your project. And we hope by the end of this video that you agree with us. This is probably one of the better looking Z06s out there, especially this beautiful engine bay. Stay tuned. All right guys, so before I go into great detail of the actual modifications that we did to this car, let's talk about a little history. Let's talk about what was done to this car previously before it showed up at our shop. I originally met Carlo at Cars and Coffee Palm Beach. He walked up to me and said, hey man, I've got a C7 Z06. I've had some work done locally. Not so happy with it. They did a couple of bolt-on modifications, headers, pulley, things like that. And he felt that there was a lot left on the table and that what he got really wasn't the total package. So we went back and forth. We talked a little bit about what his options were and what we could offer at FLHP Performance. And ultimately what we came up with is what you see here, which is one of our head cam packages. We did a couple of heat exchanger modifications as well. And we also were able to tune the TCM and actually make some changes to the transmission as well, which helped kind of crisp everything up. So let's talk a little bit about the parts that are on Carlo's Z06. As always, I like to start with the induction side of things, right? Air in, air out. You've heard me preach it in other videos like our ZL1 Bad Punkin' episode 1 where I'm talking about air in, air out. Halltech Intake, it's our go-to. It's what we use. We use these on 99% of the cars we work on here, the Corvettes. Great product, fits really well, works really well, it's proven, it's dyno tested, it's engineered. The guys at Halltech have been doing this a long time, so that's our go-to intake. We love it, we use it, works really, really well. If you move on down, look at the throttle body. We actually upgraded it to a Katech 103mm throttle body. That's mated to a Jokerz ported supercharger. Again, trying to get all the air we can and the efficiency we can out of this supercharger and into the cylinder. This vehicle, being a 2017, already came equipped with the taller supercharger lid from the factory, which is a huge plus. The earlier models, like 2015, had a much shorter lid on them, which wasn't great for cooling or efficiency. So this car already had that, which is awesome. So we were able to keep that lid and utilize it. We didn't have to upgrade that, which was really, really nice. So not only do we have the ported supercharger from Jokerz, but we also added a 2.35 upper pulley. It's a Griptech pulley, of course. The pulley's got a really nice kind of a machined coating, if you will. It's not a coating, but it's actually a machining process they use in the grooves of the pulley to make sure we don't have any belt slips. So that's a standard item that we use in any of our supercharged builds here. Now, Carlo's Z06 already had a lower overdriven crank harmonic balancer and rings set up from a previous shop. We noticed just months after he had that installed by the other shop that there was a massive oil leak. A lot of times when shops do that modification and that balancer, they don't change the seal or they don't press it in properly, whatever the case was. So not only now did we have to take that off as part of the cam swap process, but we had a massive oil leak to tend to as well. So we took care of that, which was a plus. So luckily we caught that in time. There wasn't any other major damage, but it was certainly a mess in there. So guys, make sure when you're doing any crank, a balancer or harmonic balancer work that you're changing that seal. It's very important. Now, as I mentioned previously, the car was already equipped with a set of long tube headers and an off-road X-pipe that the previous shop had installed. So we already had that covered, which was nice. The vehicle does have the factory axle back exhaust system on it that you're able to open and close the valves on. Now, Carlo's a maniac, so he keeps that thing on track mode all the time. So if you go into sound management, he's got that thing open all the time. I'm sure his neighbors love him. So really, really nice exhaust. So we had that covered, as I said. So once we nailed down all the external bolt-on parts, then we went on, we talked about internal engine parts like camshaft, lifters, things like that, cylinder head upgrades. We went with our tried and true setup from late model engines. It's basically a ported LT4 cylinder head. They upgrade the exhaust valves. They retain the titanium intake valves. We upgrade to a dual valve spring. So pretty standard stuff there. They have a really, really nice CNC program for the heads. It's pretty much our go-to for LT1 or LT4 cylinder heads, and that's what Carlo got. We went with a custom camshaft that gives them a nice power band, middle to top end power band, nothing too high, nothing too low. It's got a nice chop to it. It's one of our custom grinds. So as far as the head cam package goes, it's kind of a tried and true setup. Johnson lifters, Chromoly pushrods from Manton, Trunion upgrade in the rocker arms, the standard stuff. And we just recently made a change here at FLHP Performance. All Gen 5 LT engines now that are getting cam swaps are also going to get the late model engines front billet cover. What's nice about the cover is it deletes the clunky factory VVT gear. We get rid of that. It's a fixed cam sprocket. Comes with a new bolt, rope style seal. It's a really, really nice piece, and it just certainly makes the whole thing much more reliable. So that's required now in all of our cam swaps. Moving on, fueling. Fueling is always a real big thing with direct injection. Obviously these cars are direct injected, right? All the LT engines are. This was no exception. Car came to us with factory high pressure fuel pump and factory LT4 injectors. Carlo did mention wanting to run some E85 or have the ability to run flex fuel, which is a mix of 93, 85, or one or the other, being able to switch back and forth. So we did install a DSX Flex Fuel sensor, which is a very, very popular item. And what that does is allow us to run ethanol or 93 or anything in between and be able to switch on the fly. So he does have one of those. We opted to go with the DSX auxiliary low side system as well, which is in essence an external pump that's added. It's controlled off boost reference, so at a certain pounds per square inch of boost, it'll kick that pump on and give us the extra low side pressure we need, which will eventually feed the high side. So now that we have the low side covered with the DSX low side and the flex fuel sensor, we've got plenty of fuel pressure at the high side. Let's talk about that for a second. When Carlo originally came in and we were testing this vehicle, we were only able to get about 30% ethanol, or E30, out of it. E30 works, we made some good power with it, but can you imagine mixing E30 at the pump, right? You gotta have 10 gallons of 93 and 3 gallons of E85. It becomes a science experiment every time you go to the fuel pump. So I had recommended to Carlo that we really try to get to at least E50. It's a lot easier to mix. Not only is it gonna make more power, but E50 is a no-brainer. Half one, half of the other. So we wound up having to upgrade the injectors in the high pressure fuel pump. We went with the 30% larger injectors from Fuel Injection Connection, as well as a Lingenfelter high pressure fuel pump. And with those two modifications, on top of the other things that we had already done, we were actually able to get a mixture of E50 and have plenty of fuel left over. So you may be wondering, Eric, how much power did this car make? I'm glad you asked. We're gonna talk about that for a second. So let's kind of do a recap real quick of what we did. Full bolt-ons, ported blower, upper lower pulley, heads and cam, low side, high side, and E50. Car made good power. 790 rear wheel horsepower and 804 foot-pounds of torque at 16 PSI. I will say that again. 790 rear wheel horsepower and 804 foot-pounds of torque at 16 PSI. Woo! So if you recall, I previously mentioned that this car had been to another shop and that Carlo wasn't happy with a few things. One in particular was the transmission tuning. This is an 8-speed automatic. We noticed that the TCM had not been unlocked. The T87A was still in stock. It was not unlocked. It had not been touched. The problem with that is there's a lot of things you can do to this transmission to really firm up the shifts and kind of make it a little bit more lively. And that's exactly what we did. We took the TCM out, we sent it to HP Tuners, we had it unlocked. And when we got the TCM back from HP Tuners, Matt at MS Tuning was able to send us a TCM calibration, which we loaded in, and man, this thing is spot on. I absolutely love it. The stock torque converter is installed in this car still. The camshaft we spec for Carlo works well with a stock torque converter. We will be changing the converter when we upgrade the engine in this car at some point in the future, but for now we are in stock torque converter. It is a modified TCM, and so far so good. We're super happy with the way this thing shifts. So another important aspect to pay attention to when you're modifying your LT4 is the heat exchanger system. This vehicle does have a heat exchanger equipped that helps to keep the supercharger cool. We went ahead and upgraded the heat exchanger system with a Jokerz Performance heat exchanger reservoir, which is on the driver's side of the engine bay, as well as one of their custom heat exchangers. So overall, it really helps to control the temps in the supercharger, especially under load or when we're really beating on this thing. Kind of helps it keep nice and cool, especially in the South Florida heat. So one really, really nice external feature of the Z06 is all the carbon fiber accents that are on it. You'll notice the wing in the rear of the car and the hood on the front of the car. Those are both from Ivan Tandy Customs out of California. He custom makes these parts, and Carlo had them installed, and they look really amazing. He actually did the install himself, which was very impressive. The rear brackets that you see on the wing have a Florida High Performance logo in them, and we were actually able to use the green color that we used in the engine bay and the brakes on the brackets for the wing, which really kind of tied everything together front to back. So car has a lot of really nice carbon fiber parts on it. It's very balanced. I love the way it looks, and I think it came out really, really nice. Probably my favorite external feature of this car are the wheels. They're Brixton forged custom wheels. They're made out in California. Took quite a while to get them, but it was well worth it. These things are absolutely beautiful. Custom made to a C7 Z06 with the offsets and the overall diameter. So Carlo opted to go with a staggered stance, a 19 in the front and a 20 in the rear, and I think it looks absolutely amazing. And what's great about these wheels is they utilize the factory tire sizes as well. So he's able to run his Michelin Pilot Sports, which is great. He doesn't have to run some kind of crazy tire, any kind of drag radial. The factory tires are on here, and which is safe in the rain and the wet roads we have here in South Florida. You'll also notice this car is lowered on LG drop spindles front and rear, not just lowering bolts, which is something we might typically do on a Corvette. These actually have drop spindles, which is super nice. So the geometry of the suspension is still kept kind of where it should be from the factory. Everything is kept in a kind of the right location and gives it a really, really nice ride quality. And my second favorite part, aside from the wheels, are these just absolutely beautiful brakes. This car comes equipped with the carbon ceramic brakes from the factory. We took the factory calipers off. We had them completely torn down, stripped. Guys at Blast Coating put that beautiful anti-freeze exterior finish on them, and we finished it off with a Corvette carbon ceramic logo. Put them back on, and I gotta tell you, man, just the outside of this car is insane. Between the wheels and the brakes and the carbon ceramic rotors, magnifique. Well guys, that about wraps it up on Carlo's Z06. Now, something important that I forgot to mention previously, Carlo drives this car every day. If you've seen some of our other videos on the channel, you know we're really big on daily driven sports cars. It's easy to build a car that you drive once a week, once a month, maybe never leaves the trailer, maybe only goes to the track. Pretty much everything we build here is something that you could drive every single day reliably, and that's exactly what he does. He actually makes pickup and deliveries in this car. You imagine your delivery guy showing up in a Z06 like this, right? So he's not delivering pizzas, by the way, but he does offer that service through his business, and he does drive this car very, very often. He brings it here for service, and it's just it's a really impressive car. The power it made, the modifications it has, and what he does with it is just mind-blowing. I'm really happy with it. That's a C7 Z06 for you. They're great cars, great for the money. With the C8s coming out, I think they're actually gaining popularity. People are starting to figure out that these cars are really amazing. So this is no exception. We hope you enjoyed this video, that you learned something. This is the first C7 Z06 we've actually done a feature on, so you get a little bit of a variation here of some cars that we build, and that's it. So if you enjoyed what you saw and you like what we're putting out, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. It's very important to us. If you like the content we're putting out, please comment. I'd be happy to answer. I answer all of our comments, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, man. We're about to wrap this video up with a badass little dyno pull, so enjoy. Yeah. Shh, quiet on the set. This is a very special episode. I've got a 2017 C7 Z06 owned by our customer Carlo that is really f***ing great. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Eric here, Florida High Performance. If you take a quick look at the driver's side and passenger side of this motor, you're gonna notice some really awesome pizzazzy stuff. So we had the low side covered with the DSX auxiliary. Carlo opted to go with a 19-inch wheel in the front and a 20-inch wheel in the back. So you might be asking yourself, come on Eric, get to it. What kind of horsepower and torque did you make in this bad bitch? Well, I'm here to tell you. It's what we like to call in the industry a shit ton of horsepower.